So we'll continue with meditation methods and practices where we left last week. We'll repeat the last paragraph. Of course, we can always imagine that we are with the ultimate. Some of us are outside and some of us are inside. That's about it. If anybody thinks that he can change somebody else's mind without being at that higher level, it is only an expression of ego. Without being at the higher level, we don't have instruments for it or capacity for it. But we can fool ourselves and fool others. So long as we fool ourselves, it is Atmadroham. So long as we fool others, it is Paradroham, which is much worse. So the mental patient in a hospital is much better because he doesn't cheat others. But if the trainers or the preceptors of this system do not live up to that and try to harm others, it is definitely Paradroham, which is a sin. Let us know and understand the seriousness of the system itself. We cannot grow on our own. We have to yield to him in totality in every sense of the term. Then we will be in a position to get into a Layavastha, and that Layavastha is capable of working on others. Not our mind as such, but the one that is surrendered to the Master can help someone if his grace is there. But that should not be confused as something that is very hard. The servants of divinity have to at least lend their head for the betterment of others. That is a part of the Vidyadana at a different level. It is done that we have to do. We cannot give something which we don't have. Stabilization at the overmind level is must to come up to this stage. How overmind can be reached is the first fundamental difference between the systems of Sri Aurobindo and revered Babuji Maharaj. By bringing in the supermind to work on the mind, says Sri Aurobindo. Revered Babuji Maharaj calls consciousness at the you portion in the heart as superconsciousness of lower type. He calls the superconsciousness at the Ajna level as D1 consciousness. This consciousness also cannot change human nature as believed by Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo said that overmind, you consciousness, is only an intermediary to get us the influx of the divine, and the supermind is capable of obtaining the influx of the divine. He claimed that to be a fact. Revered Babuji says, as we are seeking life divine or the transformation of the humanity to the higher plane of living in tune with divinity, supermind will not work, and the task requires that the central force and center itself has to descend. So the point he makes is that the supermind cannot do what the center can do. These are claims of revered Babuji Maharaj. I was practicing the system for quite some time before I got clarity, because the inner conflict between the L and the U continued fairly long. The lower seems to be enormously capable of pulling us down every alternative second. If we can maintain our thought at a higher plane, for example, in the morning meditation, had we been able to maintain our thought on Lord Krishna, whose birthday we have come together to celebrate, and understood the identity between him and our master, and also identified him with the several avatars that have come earlier, We should not entertain any other thought than that of him. The lower had its own play, however small it might be. Take a pause here. Anything anyone wants to add? We'll continue.
Yeah, we'll continue. Yes.
Most of us have a different understanding of our master and think he is different from other expressions of the divine. Avatars have been also understood differently. Some persons have expressed it from the point of evolution, which is a very gross way of understanding. But there is enormous spirituality behind the advents and avatars. Each one of them teaches a lesson in spirituality. If we are real sadhakas, we would have known quite a lot of things revealed to us. The center has to intervene, and the master says that pranahuti that is offered in our system for the systematic progress of the individual is nothing but the pranasya pranaha, that is breath of the center, coming either directly through the master or through many other persons who work for him, having submitted themselves to his will. The characteristic of a person who trains is that of having submitted to the will of the divine, totally having no will of his own. When one's will is totally that of divine, he will naturally work for others without any concern for his self, without any discrimination of race or nationality or sex, while discharging his duty. But we continue to suffer from those lapses is a fact that we have to accept in our sadhana. Then only we will overcome that lapse. Unless we know the problem, we will not rectify it. Revered Babuji always puts that due interest in work and due discharge of duties do not form samskaras. Duties we shall do, but with due attachment, not with undue attachment. Undue attachment comes to us because of various social patterns apart from our own personal problems. That is the significance of the second line of the prayer. I am yet but slaves of wishes. He has not used the word my wishes. It is customary to say that samskaras get formed by individuals' own wish. It is not true. Our samskaras are getting formed mainly because of other person's wishes, which we take on us as our duty to discharge. Spouses, sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, and other relatives want something and they become our wishes. All those wishes are taken into our heart and they form samskaras. Please kindly note the significance of the omission of the word my in the prayer. We are yet but slaves of wishes and not our wishes. All wishes in the world are ours. So every one of them is a casting an impression upon us. I don't say we should not be interested in worldly matters. We find something wrong and we pray, and that is corrected, which is due interest. Talking about the correctness or incorrectness of the decision of some people is only wasting our time, and it only adds to avoidable formation of samskaras. We can only pray to God that wisdom may dawn on all. What is that wisdom? Please note that what we think as wisdom is zero. It is something that we do not know. Wisdom is something that is divine. It will give its own solutions. It will come at appropriate time. Everything has got its own time, and that is what revered Babuji meant in the message in the diary book 2 days back when he said, time has got all the power, but you cannot use it. Only God can use the Kal Chakra. It is that power that the Supreme Personality is using when he said, Sudarshan Chakra is what Lord Krishna used, and I am using the Kal Chakra for the transformation of man. We would like to know these powers. That is what I call as H, as an H of Viveka, if we may say so. One sees in Sri Aurobindo the cry for human unity for the first time in the world. Sri Aurobindo was a person who was blessed by Lord Krishna, that he was asked by Sri Krishna to get out of the freedom movement. Kindly note that he had the blessing of the great master. It was in the jail he had received the blessing of Lord Krishna, who asks him to kindly leave the place and go somewhere else to do yoga, assuring another person will come and lead the country into independence. Sri Aurobindo was also granted a boon that India will get independence on his birthday, the 15th of August, which we all cherish and are still striving to hold up. Take a pause here, quite a big paragraph. Anything to add? Quite a few practical points Sir has mentioned in terms of the due attachment, due discharge of duties. The other one is what struck me was this: talking about the correctness or incorrectness of the decision of some people is only wasting our time, and it only adds to avoidable formation of samskaras. And what is that we need to do? He gives the hint here that we can only pray to God that wisdom may dawn on all. Let's go ahead. Now, let us revert to the promise of Sri Aurobindo, namely the divine life. For him, the life divine is possible through the influx of the supermind. Revered Babuji radically modifies the method to achieve the same objective. We note that it is pranahuti that we have to bring to the heart of the aspirant from the center and assist the aspirant in his process of yielding to the divine. This enables the master to lead the aspirant from the lower state of mind or consciousness to the upper level and gradually, through various knots, reach the D2 consciousness located around the center called Sahasrara. The power at that center is also utilized for the purpose, but beyond that is not our domain. But Abhyasis clamor about D3 consciousness or D4 consciousness, and I don't find anything wrong about that. That is the greed in spirituality in expression. Greed is something that is a common disease in all planes of consciousness. The entire humanity suffers from that, but we unfortunately restrict our understanding to issues confined to monetary grounds. It is therefore it is there in spirituality also. Without first of all entering into the overmind, we tend to think in terms of superconsciousness of the supermind without owning the supramental consciousness. Think of the divine mind, and without entering into the divine mind and yielding to it totally and learning not to lift our head, we are talking about the realms of splendor of the center or base. As a person who has got through all this, I can say that every one of these levels of consciousness is a problem for us. If you ask me how much of the overmind you have got, I would perhaps rate myself at lowest because the more greater we advance, the dirt that we see in us, even though nominal, gets magnified as if it is a great blemish. That is why many feel that I overreact to certain things and situations. The reason for that is magnification of a small defect. It may be a small defect, but I magnify it. I cannot help magnify. That is the purity of the level of consciousness that Master has blessed me with, that condemns me to such behavioral patterns. I call it a condemnation. The spiritual truth in the matter can be better understood if we study the book Truth Eternal. Lalaji Maharaj says, as the man advances, if he sees the smallest defect anywhere in this world, he would consider that as greatest obstacle to spirituality. Other people may kindly ignore such lapses or blemishes that appear trivial, but one on the path would not ignore, because the perfection that we are seeking, purity we are seeking, does not permit it. So, if we talk about the methods, these are the methods. If we talk about the methods from the ritualistic point of view of morning meditation, evening cleaning, night prayer, and then say this is all about the methods, I would say it is very, very superficial. That may be the way of explaining the system in the beginning. But as we advance, we should understand what are the methods and what are the attitudes required to perform sadhana meaningfully. I know many abhyasis who come exactly for prayer at dot 8 o'clock, and some come at 7:50. Some, of course, may say that their watches go slow. Some come at 8:15, and some choose to come at 8:55 also, though such an occurrence is rare nowadays. They do not understand that by coming late, they are disturbing others. They've got, from their point of view, the peculiar right to divinity, superseding the interests of others for a similar claim. I've been exhorting people who want to meditate to get prepared and be in the state of mind to receive the blessing of the Master early. Come to the place of prayer well in advance and sit quietly in meditative mood. We should yield to the Master and allow the meaning of the prayer to sink into our heart. We are to meditate when we are asked to meditate, but some are eager to enter the portals of the divine and would meditate in advance. We are to be in a meditative mood and not meditate in satsang before the guide asks us to meditate. That is an expression of greed if we closely examine. We will not follow any of these. There are many excuses. A person who is not disciplined is least fit to be called a disciple. Methods are rigid. When we say rise before sunrise, it has to be before sunrise. If we understand it as a commandment, we will follow it. If we understand from other clarifications given by the master on other occasions and try to justify such flouting of norms on that account, even as we have done in following the earlier masters like the Buddha, Mahavir Jain, Lord Krishna, I can only say we do not have the determination to reach the goal. Please note how our mind is dictating terms. Our goal is not clear. Further, our yielding to the Master, which is the third step in the prayer, is the most important thing. We don't know how to obey. If we don't surrender to Him, we will not be in a position to transform and assist others. That is the principle of pranahuti, taking assistance of another person in our spiritual pursuit. Revered Babuji says almost the same sentence as Lord Krishna. Machchitta madgada pranaha bodhayanti parasparam. The question we have to put our mind on his consciousness. Machchitta. Note the specific mention of the word chitta, consciousness, not other qualities of omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence, nor other auspicious qualities of God or Master. It is revered Babuji's consciousness or his chitta in which we have to dwell. The sentence belongs to Lord Krishna, who says in another context that a person who can say Vasudevam Sarvam Iti is rare. That is the beginning. We know that revered Babuji is spread everywhere, but have we got into his consciousness? He uses the word pranaha. Please note that pranaha is the only plane where we can join, where we can have coherence. We cannot have it otherwise. At the other levels, we will be not in a position. This is the only way we can have unity with the divine manifestation, and unity will be divine based. It is only prana that can do this. That's what prana is. Prana, that is thought power, can extend during the day whatever we may be doing. It is necessary that we clarify for ourselves and do our sadhana in the way in which it has been prescribed, and as already noted, tapaha is a must and it is mandatory. Take a pause. Many practical hints in terms of coming early for the satsang sitting, and then be in a meditative mode and not to meditate, and only when guide asks us to meditate. Anything to add? We'll go ahead. Cleaning process is also tapaha, and even more important than the meditation we do in the morning. Gala that has been accumulated as matter over the soul mind can be burnt by austerity or penance. But our master says no austerity is required more than the cleaning process advised, and we know as sadhakas this is the toughest of the austerities that is asked of us. It is easy for us to handle something else rather than our heart, which has unfortunately got tainted by omission or commission of duties to be discharged by us. These lapses may be out of our own choice or somebody else is pestering us. Because of this, samskaras are getting formed, and it is an absolute must that we should move with only people who are attached to the divine. We must know the company of people we keep, and we must also know whether it is necessary to have extended hours of work for the sake of few rupees or dollars. We should maintain the satsang, and satsang is best defined by revered Lalaji Maharaj by saying it is to be in the company of God. It is not a matter of number of persons that gather on an occasion. The point to note is that our master wants lions in his satsang. A pride of lions is always few in numbers. We have heard a herd of sheep. We can think of a swarm of locusts, but we cannot think of a swarm of lions, and a herd of lions is unheard of. But divinity is asking for that. Revered Babuji is asking the herds and swarms of lions. But we know that the demand is something very great for us even to think of or conceptualize. The infight of gurus can be sought to be understood by this. Saying a guru does not want somebody to interfere in the work, etc. But please also note that it is not exactly the quality of lion not to allow others in its domain. It is also a quality of dog also, the Grama Sinha, not the Sinha, which can be transformed, and that is what the divine is asking. The lowest of minds think on the lines of shouting out at others that enter its territory. Lions need not roar at each other. They can accommodate. Only in a heart where U is predominant and L is less predominant is this possible. Comparison leads to conflict. When we compare ourselves, we feel that we are better than someone else. Conflict starts. Comparison is the basis of conflict. There is a Sufi story. Some gentleman, some sort of a king, went to a Sufi's house. He said, whatever he went, he found that he was superior to others. But the moment he entered the Sufis, he felt as though he was most inferior person. He wanted to understand the reason from the Sufi. The respected one said, wait till the evening. When all the people have gone, he said, now I will tell you. Let us go out of the house. They went out, and then the Sufi said, you see this big tree? It is big tree next to the small tree. They are able to live together because they do not compare. You would also be at ease with me when you don't compare. Conflict arises out of comparison. Take a pause here. Here he explains the importance of cleaning and how sincerely we need to do that. Then quite a few other practical points, and we should not compare. Know that there are masters who can teach us. Those masters do not come to us just because they are interested in us. Please note that they come to us because of the blessings of our master. Without our Guru Kripa, we will not have knowledge about other gurus, and that is one thing we must understand from the biography of the revered Babuji. He says, all the great saints and prophets have come and blessed him. Because of his master, he had the blessings of all other masters. To say our master is right and some other master is wrong is not correct. We get into a conflict by such utterances. Master is the only one, and that is God. No other person has got that right. And this is what in Bhagavad Gita we hear Lord telling, please note that there is one person inside your heart. Know that he knows everything. Know that he is your best friend. Know that he is your guide. All that you have to do is fall at his feet. Arjun was not convinced. He had his own doubts. Immediately, Lord Krishna says, I am here, fall at my feet. Such an opportunity we also have got. Here is another great personality who has come. It does not mean that those who have not seen and not seen will not understand, because just as Bhagavad Gita was valid at that time and it is valid today, it is the same statement because both of them are one, and Sri Krishna says, I am using you, our master, and our people say that he is merged in him. No, it is other way round because he grants this avatar superiority over that of a special personality. Carefully note this. Special personality brought by nature is to mend. He has been utilized. Sri Ramchandraji Maharaj of Shahjahanpur is utilized by nature, which has already entrusted this work to an avatar. To intervene and improve urgently certain things as desired by nature and not to interfere with the work of the master. Note that positions very clearly. Don't unnecessarily insult any personality of the stature of an avatar because it can harm us. A negative thought towards such a personality as Lord Krishna can harm, but no, people talk like that and we are helpless. I have been telling all aspirants of reality not to differentiate our master and any other prophets, any of the prophets or avatars, keeping in view the assurances of the master and our own spiritual growth. We keep sticking to the body form which we think somehow we know. The special personality whom we know is Sri Ramchandraji Maharaj. We think we know him well, but he said, I am not the body, I am not the person. Most of you who come to see me go back without seeing me. He made this statement, and in spite of it, we think that we know him. Because we have seen his physical body, we think we know the personality and can understand his consciousness. We have got already 5 koshas, and we try to add one more of the one whom we think we worship and adore. I see in this the play of Mahamaya. The special personality and his greatness should not be restricted to the clothes he wore, or the appearance he had, or the body which he was adorned with by God, even. Here we should know we are talking about a personality who is not to be confused with his body nor with the mind that we know. A little portion of his infinite mind is what we know from from his letters and his books. Only one portion of it, and he himself said, "What I do in other planes of consciousness is not supposed to be revealed and will not be revealed." We should try and get out of all attachments to the master. Of course, this is at the last stages of spiritual progress, and the best way to kill an attachment is to yield to the master, yield to the attachment by sublimation. There is no alternative. We satisfy the desire and then get out of the attachment. If we don't satisfy the desire, the wish continues to be in our head and haunts us every day. We have sentiments and we have attachments, but attachments that we are asked to have is with his consciousness, to be with him. This leads to one more question. One and oneness, are they same? Let me take a pause here. I think this is one sentence that we should remember, think, and implement. I am not the body. I am not the person. Most of you who come to see me go back without seeing me. And so this is what we need to understand and how much we get into his consciousness. One and oneness, are they the same? The goal of life, as stated in the commandments of the Master, has unfortunately been misread as to mean to be one with God. We can have oneness with Him. This can be explained by the concepts of equal to and identically equal to in mathematics. To be identically equal to the Master is impossible. To be equal to is possible. Three aspects are out of our purview when we talk of oneness with God. Creation, sustenance, and destruction are not our works under any circumstances. Under no circumstance, any soul has got a claim over these functions, and any person who claims that he creates something and thereby shows that he is capable of miracles is a dupe. Any person who knows these fundamentals of spirituality cannot fall, but we do fall. We fall because we seek personal relief. Human mind has come to that low level. Only when we confine our existence to the physical level and get chained by that thought, refusing to understand that there are three planes of existence, like the vital, mental, aspirational, does the question of a physical or living master arise. Living, unfortunately, is confined to the existence of the body, but even in body, we know that the vital is something that goes beyond the mental level and crosses into the aspirational level with all its load. The master has to be at the blissed level if he has to be the master. To say that at physical level to the exclusion of other levels of being, we are not going to find the master in a state of bliss, or have found him is unfortunately condemning him and to the level of karma and the sensory level. We are condemning our guru to a level by saying that he should be having a living body. But a master is one who is the master at all levels during existence here. He would be at this plane during this plane, and during this plane itself, he will clear the three levels of vital, mental, and aspirational and enter into level of bliss. The master would continue his work of nature with the powers and authority entrusted to him after his physical veiling also. It is that consciousness of Sri Ramchandra that we should think of. Anything less cannot be that of the consciousness of the master. So, the living master is an unfortunate fixation to the body in our mind. A body, by definition, is something that will fall. Siryate iti sarinam. Many are not able to go beyond the concept of body as self, and then people cling to it, and this shows their level of viveka. It shows their level of approach. In order to make physical permanent, we create idols. Idols have come from the need for permanence of certain rituals for the physical body. These needs for performance we cannot satisfy at the levels above the physical, and therefore we convert some form of matter into an idol. An idol cannot be true to the original. When someone says that his master has an idol, we immediately come to the conclusion that it is something to be got rid of. We do not understand that revered Lalaji Maharaj is the person who has called even Om an idol, while stating that it is the primary sound. It is true, Nad is from the sound and is therefore not pure consciousness. To say the sound Om is an idol is accepted, but for that very reason, we cannot throw it off because that is the path to source. Revered Lalaji Maharaj goes to the extent of saying that Nadopasna is linked to this idol. The arousal of the condition of Ajapa and Anahad here linked to the primal sound Om. Everybody thinks he knows and understands Nadopasadna. But no, we are very clear about the path we are treading. But simply because something is called an idol is not proper to throw it off. They have their own value. We think somebody else is less evolved because we think that we have been granted with the wisdom of knowing the real path. We think that the people around us do not know the real path. Please do understand that God is a Samavarti and therefore does not discriminate. We should pray that the persons around us should also come to the path. That is the yajna and that we have to do. Instead of finding fault with them, if we see blemishes in others, we should try to remove it. I know it is impossible because we have our own prejudices about whom we make judgments. Let us not make judgments about others. It is the worst sin from my point of view because the other person about whom we are passing judgment is equally an expression of the divine and has got a purpose to serve, a purpose which we may not understand. We may not understand the purpose, but what is necessary is that we should understand he has a purpose. We go to the other extreme of trying to worship Ramana Maharshi or Socrates simply because they said, Know thyself. We do that because we know that two persons have said the same thought, one in the east and one in the west. So what? It doesn't look worshipable. At the beginning, they are only trying to tell us a part of sadhana, know about ourselves before we talk about something else. But without doing so, we think that we can talk about the system. All that we have been asked to do is only trying to tell the system. In the process, we esteem to be in the process, we seem to be condemning others who are the very people whom we have got to teach. We refuse the opportunity to serve given by the divine by condemning others. We are no more wise than others whom we condemn. That any thing to add so far?
Namaste. I have a small clarification.
Yes, brother.
Yeah. So, in the earlier page, he's talking about master has to be at bliss level, like in page 104. And to say that at physical level is the exclusion of other levels of being. We are going to find master in the stage of bliss, and we have found him unfortunately condemning him to in the level of karma or sensory level. How does this kind of conflict or not conflict when we say that as a practice, if we are doing any work, think that master is doing? Because all those work are at physical level, are we not thinking about master to be at physical level?
Sir, you want to answer?
What was the question?
Yeah, sir.
Not clear actually. There's some resound coming.
Is it better now?
You tell me what.
Yeah. So in page 104, it says master has to be at bliss level if he has to be master. Okay. But we also practice sometime that saying that if you are doing any work, think that master is doing that work. So we are kind of thinking at that time that he is coming with us at the physical level. Okay. Is this kind of how does these two things stays together, or because there seems to be a little bit in conflict?
Yeah, it is like this. Actually, when we meditate and when we finally reach the goal, liberation, and when we move towards liberation and all that, it is all bliss only. Master is in a bliss level only. But we are not in that level. We are moving. Our mind is getting refined. It is getting purified. And Once it gets purified, then what happens? Layavastha happens. That means your mind almost assumes the same form of mind of the master. There is what is called Sayujjata with master. Then the bliss will come. But at operational level, we are asked to practice constant remembrance, like I'm doing surgery. So I have been asked by master to think that master in his form and person is doing the surgery. So that is a practice. We are training our, we are trying to think of one and only one thing continuously, because then that starts developing force in our mind, and which leads to a state of it becomes a reality. It's a strategy to see that by this strategy, what is happening, you are maintaining the link with the infinite power of the master. So continuously the force will enter into your mind, continuous purification happens. At some point, it is no more a strategy, you become that. Then you feel that master himself is doing. It is, you don't even know whether master is doing or you are doing. So that kind of a condition comes, but it is a strategy to practice constant remembrance. It is, at some point it becomes bliss. When the mind becomes very pure, then Layavastha happens, then you cannot practice at that time. So it is, I don't know whether I answered your question or not. When you are using that master is doing the work, we are using it as a strategy to practice constant remembrance. And after some time, it really becomes like that. Only the divine force itself is working. You can read again in central region about the stages of ego. Babuji talks about when you're initially, you will feel your physical body itself is doing the work. At next stage, you feel that some force, you can call it master or God, or some energy is working, you will feel. And third stage, you feel that you don't know whether you are doing or master is doing. Work happens automatically. You're not aware of the work being done at all. So that at that stage, bliss will be operating actually. So it's I don't know, Mukesh, whether you have I've answered your question or not. I don't know whether I understood your question properly.
No, thank you, sir. It is answered.
Okay. So we now come to the concept of bliss. This problem comes mainly because in the cleaning method we say, "O Master, thou art the ocean of bliss." What is bliss? Bliss is at several levels. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, we are taught about bliss in all the five koshas. In the Truth Eternal, revered Lalaji Sahab explains the same thoughts while dealing with the concept of Satchidananda or Ananda. But what is this concept of bliss we have during our cleaning? This point is relevant to us because aspirants say that they have attended to their cleaning, but nothing has happened. Bliss is something that we have got to understand very clearly. It is not anything that we know of. When we practice the cleaning process, we say that it is Ananda. We get into a state of meditation. Obviously, because if we are having the thought of Ananda at the level of our Jiva or taste, we are at the level of Annamaya Kosha. In the evening meditation, when we think that he is the ocean of bliss, naturally we will get drowned and there is no question of further cleaning. But if we negatively describe it as something we do not know, just as the real goal of human life, humility would be there and cleaning process would take effect. The thought of master as the real goal of human life has been changed to the thought of Master as an ocean of bliss during the evening cleaning process. Because we have to pass through all the shades of Ananda in the five koshas, this is a better idea when dealing with the dirt and disease in us that we have got at all the sheets, koshas, to be got rid of. If we are not able to get rid of the dirt, it would only mean that the concept is not clear. I do hope I have provided with the required clarifications about the methods to be followed in our system of sadhana.
Mukesh, if you remember, today morning I was talking to you about the divine light concept actually. So similar things sir is talking here. So the same idea which we have about divine life, we really do not know divine life, whether it is sakar or nirakar, whether it is peace or peacelessness, whether it is being or non-being, it is beyond both. So we really do not understand what is divine life. Similar idea we should have about the ocean of bliss. That's what Master is telling. Sir is telling here.
Yep, makes sense.
Mukesh, morning अपन बात कर रहे थे ना? हाँ, वही idea sir.
Yes.
The problem which I personally feel people are not progressing is when they think of the presence of divine light in the heart, like if you read Babuji's book, Reality at Dawn, he talks extensively about in the chapter called Religion. 1 minute, I'll just show you one. I'll just read this 1 minute in Religion chapter. So he says there are various conceptions of God. I mean, it's relevant to the object of meditation, divine light without luminosity. People look upon him differently according to their capacity and understanding. So all of us may not have the same idea, but for the sake of practice, we should have a clear idea what Babuji wants us to think like that. So that is very important. People look upon him differently according to their capacity and understanding. The most commonly accepted conception of God is eternal power. But the philosophical view goes much beyond and includes the idea of Nirguna Brahma or indeterminate absolute, which is above all multiplicity and distinctions. It is the ultimate cause and substratum of existence, the supraactive center of the entire manifestation or the absolute base. It is beyond quality, activity, or consciousness. It is also known as Parabrahma. Next comes the idea of God as supreme existence. The second idea is talking about. We see the universe with all its diversities and differentiations, and we are led to believe in its creator and controller. We call him Ishwar or Saguna Brahma, determinate absolute. We think of him as a formless eternal existence, which is omnipotent and omniscient and possesses all the finest attributes. He is the efficient cause of the world and is also its preserver and destroyer. It is only when viewed from this lower standpoint that God, as the God of religion, becomes an object of worship. This is the final approach of almost all the religions. So far, God is conceived of as Nirakar or formless, but possessing a certain attributes. This is in itself a difficult idea for the common folk to grasp. Mind you, just watch his remarks. This is itself a difficult idea for the common folk to grasp. They therefore try to secure an easier approach by taking up to be more tangible form. Some therefore think of him as a seated on the highest heaven, administering justice and benevolence to all. Others think of him as an all-pervading power controlling the universe. Thus, by degrees, we are in a way gradually drifting away from the Nirakar or formless aspect to some tangible form of Sakar. Much has been said in the religious books about the two conceptions, the Nirakar and the Sakar. But really, both the conceptions, as generally understood, are greatly misleading. Really, God is neither Sakar, Nirakar, nor Sakar, but beyond both. Those who treat him as Sakar limit the limitless within the bounds of form and shape. And the result is that they cultivate narrow-mindedness and remain forever within bounds. So if you try to meditate on Venkateshwara or Lord Krishna or Rama, you're bound by that form. You cannot move towards reality. That's what he's saying. Those who treat him as Sakar limit the limitless within the bounds of form and shape. Result is that they cultivate narrow-mindedness and remain forever within bounds. If we take him as a Nirakar, the very idea brings to our mind the limitation of attributes as creator, controller, and destroyer. Suppose you say Nirakar, then how is the earth running and all that, your mind will not accept it. Even the idea of God as power or energy is still a limited conception. We go on ahead to the idea of non-entity or zero. Still, we are in a way somewhat away from reality. What then? Expression now fails. Sufficient be it to say that if we are really away from both the conceptions, we may think ourselves to be in the right direction. So when you're using the word divine light without luminosity, it should be a faint supposition, that's all. And on the subtle thing, the mind should settle. Then only your mind will become subtle. Then only you're really following Babuji's, you're in the consciousness of Sri Ramchandra's consciousness and you'll progress. Otherwise, it's just a superstition and then it's just a ritual. We will not be progressing at all. So long as we remain confined within the bounds of religion, the God of religion remains in our view and we remain entangled within one or the other view. The highest spiritual attainment is only possible when we go beyond. In fact, spirituality begins where religion ends. Religion is only a preliminary stage for preparing a man for his march on the path of freedom. When he has set his foot on the path, he is then beyond the limits of religion. The end of religion is the beginning of spirituality. The end of spirituality is the beginning of reality. And the end of reality is the real bliss. Now, the ocean of bliss ka matlab, you get clarity here again. The end of reality is the real bliss. So we have some concepts actually, and then we think we are cleaning. When that too is gone, we have reached the destination. That is the highest mark, which is almost inexpressible in words. So sir has given a clarification, but then we have read this Reality at Dawn chapter long back.
Yeah.
We have to keep visiting them again and again so that each time when the master's thoughts penetrate or touch your mind, you are a changed person. You know, some portion of Babuji's consciousness becomes your consciousness and your spiritual level immediately jumps up. ठीक है ना धर्मेश और कुछ बोलना है?
Yeah, so we have completed the chapter in 2 parts. So, yeah. We'll meet next week.
So methods should be very clear. So as we are also, all of us are abhyasis and we have a responsibility to, once you enjoyed the peace and tranquility which you have when the divinity starts unfolding in your heart, if you just enjoy it yourself and don't share it with others, it is a kind of a selfishness actually, and which is not at all spiritual. It becomes your duty to share it with others and then see that they're also enjoy similar kind of peace and tranquility. So, but it should be sincere from heart. That's why 9 p.m. prayer, that's what sir is telling. Dana, tapas, and yajna. That's a yajna we have to do. We have to sincerely, from your heart, feel that others also should enjoy the presence of God in themselves. Not from your mouth and tongue. If you're talking, it's a very superficial level.
Any other questions on the methods or practices and the depth to which sir has covered?
The ocean of bliss, it's a very important thing sir has told.
Yeah.
So if we start doing it, it will work very well. Okay, we'll meet next Sunday then.